If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Home Series, make sure you make a date. It's on every Friday until we have the bigger Habitat Fair sometime in September at the Accra International Conference Center. But whatever happens, make sure you are at the West Hills Mall tomorrow. Come with the entire family. It's a huge, comfortable place. There will be lots of activities for the children as well. So you can shop around. Even if you're not ready to buy a house, I tell you what, it's good to begin the conversation now. So tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., whatever time in between that you want to pass through, we'll be there at the West Hills Mall. But right now, we want to have a conversation tailored at meeting the needs of adolescents. It's vacation time and a rest period for both boys and girls. Our concentration is on girls this morning. While some await the reopening, others are itching to go to either the senior high school or tertiary school for the first time. So I guess it's time for such a conversation on the do's and don'ts of adolescence. We'll also talk about the challenges and insecurities of the adolescent female. Joining me in the studio for this conversation is Natalie Takyi-Appiah. She's founder of Smiling Hearts Foundation. We also have Dr. Newman Arthur, Medical Director and Clinical Health Psychologist, and Richard Opoku is with a Special Attention Project. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're talking about challenges and insecurities of the adolescent female. Perhaps let me start with you, Dr. Arthur. Why is this so important?
Generally, all over the world, because of the changing trends of society and how society sees life and what they place premium or importance, what they attach importance to. A lot of young people are quite getting confused as to what to do with their lives, and meeting their needs too has become quite challenging. And for example, in the past, maybe about 10, 20 years ago, one of your focus would be phones. You won't even think about it. There'll be one in the community and you have to go and pay. But now it's become a need for a teen because of all the societal perception about these things. And so things are changing. And because of that, the challenges are becoming more and also more difficult to deal with them. Because if the problem of a child or a teen is about getting a phone, it's expensive to get a phone.
Now they're talking tablet too.
Yes. So it's become difficult. Another thing to has to do with the fact that because of this pressure, especially on mothers and fathers, they would have to meet the needs of these kids. And because of that, they would have to stay more away from home and time with their children. And that is also creating problems because the human being is multi-dimensional. Even health, there are 4 dimensions with health: physical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual. These are the 4 levels. And so meeting that need, if you focus more on satisfying the physical needs of that child, you may neglect other areas. And parents are struggling to put a balance because they also struggled whilst they were growing up. So a lot of parents actually do not know what to do with their kids. They actually are confused as to what to do with their kids.
True.
And maybe the last one I'll add with this has to do with the fact that the media plays a significant role in shaping people's perception and how they respond to situations. And unfortunately now, though the media is doing a lot, there's also a negative twist to this about what we put out there and what we decide to be what is important. Because media quite feeds on things that will make news.
Is what is important to the adolescent what is important to us?
That is a question to ask.
Richard, but this is difficult for every parent to handle. An adolescent, at some points, they themselves don't even know what they want.
Exactly. And let me take it even from the educational aspect of the children. And for us as an organization, we are working for children who have some learning difficulties. And you realize that most of the parents, if you try to explain the situation of the child to them, you know, they will tell you that, no, this is the responsibility of the teacher. They don't understand why the children or the child is unable to learn like their colleagues are doing. So it becomes difficult for you to even explain that your child has a difficulty. Because if you talk about children with learning difficulties, they don't have any physical deformity. Yeah, let me say that it's a brain-based.
And parents blame the teachers for not doing a good job.
Exactly, because they are not aware. They are not aware of learning difficulties, and again, they don't even accept that the child has a problem.
But how do you even explain that to a parent?
Yes, so
whose child is perfect?
Yes, so you realize that if we talk about learning difficulties, it's a peculiar situation. You realize that sometimes even a child of say 11 years cannot even write his or her name. Some write, they're able to write, but you see the handwriting very, crooked. Yeah, so in 2015, UNICEF came out with a report that nearly 500,000 children were out of school in Ghana. And these are children who have never been to school or have been to school and dropped out. And in 2017, they also came out with a report that 7 out of 10 children, struggle to read or write at primary 3. Okay. And over the years, these statistics are reflecting in our BECE results, even been following it, especially with the English and the maths, aspect. It's reflecting always, we get low performance, from there. And before you can identify that a child has a learning difficulty, the child has to go through some sort of assessment. Yes, so...
But just real quick, will the child know that I have a challenge?
The child wouldn't know. The child wouldn't know. What he or she will know is that he's not performing well. Okay? And the society will further be compounding it. One, the teacher who is teaching the class, if you are in school, if you're a child and you cannot perform like your mate, the teacher always sees you as a lazy, person. Or sometimes even in the families, they attribute what they call learning difficulties to spiritual problem. So you see the children, being helped from one spiritual camp to the other. So the crux of the matter is neglected.
This is deep. We're only scratching the surface this morning. Natalie, there are also, there are so many things. We're talking about children menstruating rather very early these days. Do they even know what is going on with their own bodies?
What I've realized since 2012, when we started the adolescent female education program, is that they don't even understand the whole adolescent phase. They don't understand the biological, the social, psychological, and emotional changes they're going to go through. I met a girl and she says, "Auntie, I don't want to menstruate again. Let it stop." And I'm thinking, really, it's like telling me to turn you into a man,
I'm sure every girl goes through that. At some stage, you're tired of it.
So they don't understand the whole adolescent concept. They are in dilemma, are we adults or what? So that's one thing you have to deal with. And the changes, the challenges, the kind of dangers they're exposed to. They trust easily. They have a crush and they think it's love. Crush is hormones. Love is a decision. Like
I'm going to ask you what the difference is.
They have a crush and they think it's the end of the world. I have to tell this boy I have a crush on him. No, you don't do that. And they have quite a lot of challenges. But when we started the project, we realized that the problems are more than we know. I've met girls who are from very wealthy families and they try to kill themselves 5 times. And it's not because their parents can't provide for them, but there are underlying emotional issues that the gap between the mother and the child to talk about it is quite, you need a bigger than a Dome bridge, to try and close that gap. So it's crazy. Parents are, I was telling Richard Isaac this morning that some are listening but not hearing. Some are hearing but not paying attention. You have another group that's invincible. You have another group that doesn't understand what to do, you know. But the girls will not grow up on autopilot. They have major issues. I met a 13-year-old girl in a boarding school. She's had sex with 10 boys. She's had a threesome.
Oh, wow.
And she is the girl who orchestrates for the boys to be locked in the cupboard so that after prep, when the school is quiet, they come back and go and have sex with them.
This is Ghana?
This is Ghana. Ooh. I mean, I've done 65,000 girls, and if I tell you the kind of things we come across, it will shock you.
Dr. Appiah, how much of this revelation do we know as parents?
You know, parents are always shocked when they hear things like that, because they don't know their children. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't, and they're too busy, and they're not paying attention.
But somebody must work.
True.
Yeah.
But you create a certain balance. You create, for example, in the morning, you want to rush to work. Can you have just 5 minutes with your children, just trying to talk them through life?
How much of a difference will that 5 minutes make?
It will. Instead of just rushing to work, have some brief time with your children. There are some homes, for example, some Christian homes, they will do quiet time.
Yes.
That is time with them. You can decide that, okay, even if I have to stay longer at work to do some work, why not bring that work home and try to do it at home so that I'm around, and try and engage your kids even whilst you're working. Instead of staying till 9, 10 before coming, by the time you come, they're asleep. Why not do that? So depending on your situation, you should be able to find a way to bridge that gap between you and your children. A lot of parents are shocked. And there are a lot of kids who are crying for attention. Yes. They just want some 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. There was a guy who paid the father to have time. I said, Father, how much are you paid an hour at work? He says, I'm paid so and so. Okay, can I pay you that so that I can have that hour with you?
That's sad.
And that's what is happening. So we're too busy and neglecting that time. And what I do is that when I close from work, I've closed from work. Between 6 and 9, it's time with family. When you come, you lock up
But not everybody can do that.
So you would have to plan. You have to look at your situation and make that time. I'm a medical doctor. I'm into clinical health psychology, right? I travel, I go around. But you need to create that time. You need to create that time.
Yeah.
I decide to even send my kids. We have decided at home. Mother has time to go to send the kids to school. I have time to send the kids to school. And that time, even in the car, carrying them around, driving them around.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time with them. Instead of trying to say, send your, call the driver.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do that. And you can decide to offer to go and pick them from school. Maybe you can take some 1 hour or so from work, just pick them from school, drop them, come back to work, if you can afford that. So we have to, because if you don't, the problems will come.
So Richard, what's the alternative for them? If mommy, daddy is not available, what are they doing? Who are they talking to?
Well, then that's where peer pressure, comes in. Yeah, so if we tend to neglect the needs, okay, even in terms of our association with them, then they will be tempted to, form association with other, especially their colleagues. So as for that point, the need for parents to pay attention to their children, we are stressing on it. It's very, very important.
Let's stay with your education. Okay. There are some parents who have teachers who come home after classes. In fact, school is on vacation. Some are doing summer school, even though it's summer every day in Ghana. Do you have to allow your child to be engaged in all these activities after school? You have a studies teacher still coming home on vacation. The children are still learning. I mean, is it all learning?
It's not all learning. But for children with learning difficulties, it's important that at least they have a teacher or a homework helper who will be helping him or her at home. And if you talk about homework helper, we are not looking at a professional teacher. It can even be the parent the parent of that child. So what we always do is that working with the parents, we encourage them to get training, and we are willing to provide the training based on the need, the learning need of the child. So if the child struggles to read, the parents, are you able to get a training so that at home you support the child homework and that sort. So that's what we recommend that they do. And again, it's about spending time, because once you're helping the child with his or her homework, then you are still spending time with them.
Natalie, we'll talk about the projects that you have coming up, the convention for the girls. Yes. But is it possible, and I think it's possible, for a young girl to spend, for a parent to be available, but the girl will still not talk to them?
It's possible. I mean, when you come to that point, then there's a lot of things have gone wrong. So you've not been available from the beginning. They found an alternative means of talking. That alternative means has become very dangerous, but they become addicted to it. So they would rather go there, because now if they start talking, they're tempted to tell you what has gone wrong, and their greatest fear is your reaction. When I go to the schools, the girls always say, why do mothers shout? And I say, you know, to be a member of the International Mothers Association, at the interview you have to shout. So if you don't shout, you don't qualify. And I then tell them that shouting is a reflex action. What you're talking about, she's seen it before, she knows how it will end. So in the panic, we shout. But the mistake we make is when we shout, you pull back and talk. Go and get over it and come down to her level and talk. But if you come and it's still the shouting and the screaming and the shouting, nothing is going into her head. You shout. She didn't understand what was wrong. I mean, she's an adolescent. Everybody's doing it. Her friends are doing it, so she's done it. But it's wrong. So you need to communicate. Communicate. Don't talk at her. Talk with her. Look, the girls will not grow up on autopilot. They don't come with a handbook when they are born. So we look to God for the right wisdom to bring them up. But if and when we create that gap, 65,000 girls, I'm telling you, the things I've seen and heard. When I get home, I go to my room, I shut the door, I lie down and I cry. Because some of the things, I mean, 13-year-old girl tells me, oh, my mom says, 13. Go and look for meat for food. What are you telling her? 2 days ago, a girl called me after she heard me on Sunny FM, and when she was growing up, her parents were always fighting. So she would take her siblings into a closet so that they wouldn't hear, or they go downstairs to the car. She was gradually becoming depressed. Nobody to talk to. The boys in the area noticed, they befriended her. She started talking to one of them, started sleeping with the guy. 1 abortion, 2 abortion, 3 abortion. Now she's very, very depressed. She's only in Form 3 now. We're going to Form 3, but all of that is always sort of like haunting her, so she can't even focus to learn. Now, when you come back at this point, trying to get her, what approach are you going to use, and how do you expect her to open up? There was a girl in one of the schools in North Kenichi. She said her parents divorced when she was 10. She was left in the care of the father's family. Comes from school, there's nobody to say, have you done your homework? How was school today? What did you learn?
She's like an independent young girl.
The boys she gets home and there's nobody to say there's food for you. The boys picked it up. They started sleeping with her at age 10. Her mother comes back after 3 years and is yelling. And she's like, Auntie, where was she 3 years ago? For you to just come in and say that this is wrong, you are rotten, you are that. She's where she is because she didn't get the guy. She doesn't have, she's not DIY. You know, she's not a grow up yourself individual. She needs the guidance and the direction. But parents are confused. Honestly, I mean, it's not bringing up girls. I think the greatest fear every mother has is your daughter coming home to say, I'm pregnant. Oh, yes. I mean, it's the greatest fear. I think it's the greatest fear every mother has. if you have a daughter. I mean, for those with the sons, I don't think it's an issue. It won't be your son who's going to carry for 9 months, so you don't kind of worry much. But we have a huge challenge with the girls.
Yeah.
Don't assume that you can give your daughter a trip to Dubai every weekend if she wants to. So it's that, because in one school I had 70 girls come for counseling, and almost 45 of them had tried to kill themselves at least 3 times.
Really?
Yes, and some of them are from families that if I mention the names, you'll be shocked.
Wow.
Yes. So don't assume that you know all that about the girl.
Yeah.
You know.
So, Dr. Arthur Richard, there's a lot of work for you ahead. So let's just talk about the convention coming up. Give us a bit of details.
Okay, so we have the Adolescent Female Convention coming up. It's the first ever in this country, I believe. And the purpose of the convention is to, in a holistic approach, inform, educate, and equip the girls on issues like menstruation. They don't have a full understanding. I don't know if I still have an understanding of it. So we have a team of gynecologists head by Dr. Thompson, female gynecologist. They're going to talk to them about everything about menstruation and then deal with the menstrual irregularities. You find that the girls have issues and they tell their moms, oh, it will stop. But it won't stop. So we're going to run a free clinic on that. Sometimes you find that they come to a point where they can't open up to their moms anymore. So they're carrying the issue. But when we go to the schools, they talk about it. So this is an opportunity for the girl to get that free review on it. And then we have Dr. Newman Arthur going to talk about how to deal with abuse and how to prevent abuse. We have another team going to teach the girls on awareness of sexual abuse and give you effective skills to fight your way out. Yes, we all need it.
Can I get like 1 point?
Effective skills. And then we have the Special Attention Project.
Yeah.
They're going to handle, a lot of the girls say, Mommy, when I learn, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know how to learn effectively. So they're going to give the girls...
And how can you think about boys and think about books as well?
Because yes, that's
so that should be one of the things, Richard.
Maybe, So we have that aspect too. We have Reverend Mrs. Boji Dankwa. She's going to deal with the girls together because you're not going to get them splitting up. Girls who were brought up by single parents, there's an issue there. Girls who don't know their fathers, there's an issue there. And the girls who live with both their parents, but there's always agony at home. So we're not going to separate them. We're just going to do it at once.
Okay.
So that everybody who's concerned, you take your apple from there. Okay.
Nice.
We have also Lokanda going to do the effective skills. So it's diverse issues.
This is deep,
loaded.
loaded.
And then the other thing we're doing is a career mentoring session.
Okay.
So the girls who want to be doctors, we have a doctor going to mentor them for 2.5 hours. The lawyers, so that you understand that I want to be a doctor, it's not mouth. This is going to go into it, and they're going to encourage you to do this.
Okay.
You're going to have a lawyer, nurses, all of that. So it's a holistic approach. They come back. I mean, the tagline for this convention is experience the change and live it.
Nice. Where is this happening?
Pentecost Convention Center at Kaswa Nyanyano.
Okay.
We are going this weekend. Sunday by 3 o'clock we are there. We have buses available. You can call our office to register. We had a lady who called to say that most of the things we talked about, she's been through it. So she wants to support for as many girls to come.
Okay.
So she's paid, like the original fee was 190 Ghana cedis, but she's paid 90 cedis off.
Okay.
For 40 girls.
Oh, wow.
And then another one has paid 70 cedis off for another 30 girls.
Okay.
So between these two numbers.
Yeah. But how many girls can you host at a time?
We can host up to 200 girls.
Okay.
Up to 200 girls. We still have some seats.
Is this a sleepover session?
Yes, it is residential, 5 days.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be amazing, informative, and issues will be dealt with. You make new friends, and you become more focused with what you're doing.
Okay.
So our phone lines are 0 I always get it wrong. 030 701 0054, or you can call 026 5656 515. The numbers again are 030 701 0054, or 026-5656-515. The age group is from 8 to 21.
Okay.
Because we have 8 years menstruating these days. So from 8 to 21, if you can put the numbers on the screen, then they can
We'll hit on it again. Okay. We have to wrap up, but can I have you guys after this session, before school reopens? I think it would be good if we go a second round after you've had, you've had conversations with these girls.
Definitely.
So thank you for being on the show this morning. We'll see you after the convention. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Arthur. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Natalie, for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Up next on our show, we're hosting the Full Gospel Business Men's Fellowship. It's the Full Gospel Business Men's Fellowship International. They'll tell us more about them, and then they have these breakfast meetings. When is the next one? Why do they do it? All that conversation coming up here on the show. Stay with us.